I'm going to share with you a little bit of my journey in this space. I'm a OBGYN by training and then did urogynecology or female pelvic medicine. I've been dealing with female pelvic floor disorders, which are basically bladder dysfunction, bowel dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, problems with pelvic organ support, and defecation disorders my entire career. Very serendipitously in 2014, I got approached by a CO2 laser company out of Florence, Italy, DECA, which created the first platform, energy-based platform specifically for women, and that's the Mona Lisa Touch laser. We did the original research on that for the areas that Steve was just talking about, vaginal atrophy or GSM. And then about 5 years ago, I got involved with InMode and have been working closely with them, looking at all types of radiofrequency applications in both female and male pelvic health. I'm going to share with you, we've come a long way with this. It's very, very exciting. I'm going to not only share with you the sort of applications, I'm going to also quickly go through the science that we've done and studies that we've done and published to support what I'm telling you. So the objectives, we'll talk about the clinical utility of these various components of Empower. The key here is we're going to talk about therapeutic areas that are huge. And whenever you're obviously in a cash-based system, you know, your outcome is basically patient-derived. And that means that patient selection is key. If a patient is happy that the $2,000 she paid for whatever you're treating, then it's a success. If she's not, it's not. I mean, it's basically, again, at the end of the day, it's not a smear, it's not a blood test. It's basically a patient-derived outcome. So we always need to keep that in mind. And these areas are so large, you don't have to oversell anything. So the key, one of the big keys of the talk today is hopefully to provide you a good backdrop on patient selection. Be very realistic about what you're offering a patient and what this platform can truly do in that regards. As I said throughout the talk, I'll review published data that we've put out to support what I'm saying, and then we'll talk about some of the current and future trends. We're just really skimming the tip of the iceberg right now in regards to utility of RF energy, and as I said, not only in women's pelvic health, but in men's pelvic health as well. So energy sources in the vaginal canal up until recently have been very, very gimmicky. And there's lots of reasons for that, and I don't have time to go into the history of this, but after the few studies came out on the Mona Lisa Touch, every aesthetic company that had a laser, whether it was an erbium YAG laser, a CO2 laser, or had an RF device, created some sort of a device to put in the vaginal canal and started marketing vaginal rejuvenation. And you had, with all due respect to our dermatologic and plastic surgery colleagues, you had every office offering vaginal rejuvenation with really no understanding of what that really meant. And it resulted in the FDA coming down on a lot of these aesthetic companies because you cannot promote and advertise a specific indication unless you have that indication. So you have to just advertise your broad sort of indication, such as coagulation of vessels or whatever. You can't advertise a specific disease state unless you've gone to the FDA and done an IDE and gotten an indication, which we're going to touch on that here in a second.